chant of the Kalahari Bushmen heralds the approaching cool of the evening, echoing the droning desert winds, the creaking of the arid land. The Kalahari Desert in southern Africa is a vast arid plateau 300 meters above sea level. Here, there is little to support life, and game is difficult to flush out. In 1972, a Japanese camera crew lived with two small clans of Bushmen for several weeks, filming them as they moved from camp to camp. For the Kalahari Bushmen are nomads, constantly on the move, in whichever direction the hunt will take them. The women return from foraging for wood. Nights can be very cold in the Kalahari. These transient villages consist of 15 or so families, nomadic groups that move together from camp to camp, until, for one reason or another, the villages break up and the families join with other groups. Although the Bushmen are avid hunters, game is scarce. About 3/4 of their diet is derived from wild plants and fruits. These watermelons provide the Bushmen with 90% of their drinking water. The hunters prepare the poison that coats their arrowheads. They take the larvae of the coal, a venomous beetle, crush it in a mortar, and add a little saliva to make a paste. A hunt is about to get underway. During the night, a scout has spotted fresh giraffe tracks not far from the camp. At first light, 7 of the most experienced hunters set off on the hunt. Tracking the animal may take a long time, and there's no guarantee they'll be successful. As far as the eye can see, a limitless expanse of dry, stony ground, dotted with a few shrubs. No signs of life, but the hunters have learned how to read this land, to lead them to their prey. It's noon. After 5 hours of tracking in the oppressive heat, the hunters agree to a moment's rest. Water is carried in ostrich eggshells, the only flask the Bushmen know. They're strong, smooth, and leak-proof. The Bushmen have devised a sign language that they use when they must remain silent during a hunt. This is the warthog. And this finger, bent like this, is the ostrich. This is the long-horned oryx. And the giraffe. The brief siesta has ended. The hunters examine the ground for the tiniest clue left behind by their prey. Their diligence is rewarded. These large tracks were made by a giraffe, and it's traveling in that direction. They're deep, so the giraffe passed this way recently. The animal's excrement provides more information. The hunters determined that the giraffe passed by barely minutes ago. They simply need to follow the trail. A cluster of trees. The hunters are certain the giraffe has taken refuge behind it. Their plan is to spread out and try to encircle the animal. The giraffe is there. The hunter leading the party confirms its presence. The animal is struck with one arrow after another, and its hide is soon pockmarked with poisoned welts. The giraffe manages to flee despite its numerous wounds, but the Bushmen make no attempt to restrain it. They know the animal will soon succumb to the poison. The hunters camp for the night, making a fire to protect themselves from lions and leopards. At daybreak, the hunters resume tracking their quarry. There's no time to lose. If the wind picks up, the tracks will be quickly obliterated. The Bushmen do not recognize a permanent leader or chief. The most experienced hunter is automatically the leader of the hunting party. In this case, it's Chadi, the one who shot the first arrow and who now walks at the head of the group. Suddenly, Chadi points to a darkened area on the ground, a small pool of fresh blood. The hunters are now confident the prey will soon be theirs, but they still show no sign of haste. Just ahead is a large tree with a hollow trunk. In the Kalahari, there's no rainfall for nearly 9 months of the year. During the wet season, these hollow tree trunks act as reservoirs where rainwater can collect and remain for long periods without evaporating. The hunters will not stop to eat. From the time the giraffe fled to the moment it dies, the hunters will have swallowed nothing but a few drops of water. If we eat something, they explain, she will regain her vitality and flee far from here. The hunters resume tracking. The trail is easy to follow, allowing the men to move along at a brisk pace. Suddenly, Chadi slows down. A new clue is on the ground, an arrow. For the Bushmen, the situation is very clear. The giraffe, by now very weak, fell to the ground, where the arrow was dislodged. Somehow, she managed to get up again, but she can't have gotten far. The giraffe is no longer able to flee, and these slight men are about to conquer the large beast. She makes one final tremendous effort to stand. But the poor creature can't go far. It's interesting to study the expressions on the hunters' faces as they inspect their prize. Besides the satisfaction of a job well done, deeper emotions also surface. Feelings of respect for a worthy adversary who bravely defended herself. And feelings of regret. A regret that comes from having had to kill such a beautiful and noble beast. Three days have passed since they left the camp. Now the hunters can make a triumphant return with their prey. But transporting their prize, a 700-kilo adult giraffe, is no easy matter. The first thing to do is to carve the carcass into manageable pieces. They begin by removing the parts considered the most palatable: the neck, which is extremely tender, and the legs. The remaining meat is then stripped from the carcass and hung on branches to dry out, while the hunters prepare for the journey home. After a short sleep, the hunters make an early start back to the camp. Despite their heavy load, they complete the trek in 8 hours, seldom stopping to rest. Cries of joy and excitement welcome them home. As there is more than enough meat to feed everyone, a huge feast is planned to celebrate the hunters' triumphant return. The hunter who first sighted and wounded the animal has the honor of distributing the portions of meat. The families and next of kin of the 7 hunters will be the first to receive their share. What is left will be distributed equally among the other members of the group. They will gorge themselves until they're unable to eat another bite. Hunger pangs are part of the everyday lives of these people, so when their hunger is appeased, they can afford the time to play and be happy. The principle of this game is difficult to grasp, yet it's clear that the young Bushmen and even the smallest ones are enjoying it. The men won't go out hunting again until the entire supply of meat is exhausted. Not out of laziness, but rather from their belief that it's wrong to take more from nature than is needed each day. Three days after the feast, the village is in a turmoil. The meat which should have fed the village for 10 days has gone. Evil spirits must have entered the camp. The witch doctor, encouraged by the frenzied villagers, immediately begins to exorcise a possessed woman. When he's satisfied the exorcism is complete, he throws a ball as far as he can out of the camp, symbolically expelling the evil spirits from the village. But this is not the end of the matter. Three of the witch doctor's assistants, who act as mediums, have fallen into a trance. One of them runs out of the camp, taking with him the evil spirit that has possessed his body. As soon as he rids himself of this evil demon, he staggers back to camp, exhausted. But his performance has eased the terror of the villagers. The children return to more innocent games. A small watermelon makes a fine ball. The clapping of hands establishes the rhythm, and the children improvise the choreography. Along with the ball, there's also the bow and arrow. Boys are exposed to the art of hunting at a very young age. This unchanging, harmonious life is repeated in small groups all over the Kalahari. But the life of one group of Bushmen in the northern desert changed forever. The day this man exchanged his goats for a horse. Along with his brother, who is also a horseman, he's able to spot and chase game much faster than the hunters who follow him on foot. Pursuing a prey on foot could sometimes take many days, and often the hunters would return empty-handed and utterly exhausted. But now, seated comfortably in the saddle, this hunter is able to outrun and corner his prey alone, virtually without fail and with minimum effort. The other hunters are left with nothing to do but serve as lookouts or treat themselves to long siestas. It's not surprising that the horseman has become an indispensable member of the village and is highly respected by the other hunters. This scenario repeats itself over and over again. Exhausted from being chased down, this oryx can no longer defend itself. The other hunters, who ran as fast as they could to catch up, now only need to administer the coup de grace to the prey that the powerful lord of the hunt has graciously presented. This was the timetable of the hunt. 8 a.m., the horseman rides out of the camp, trailed by a handful of hunters on foot. 1 p.m., an oryx has been flushed out, hunted down, and killed, thanks to one solitary man and a horse. And now he's regarded by the Bushmen as their chief, a very significant departure from their fundamentally egalitarian society. Though meat has become more abundant, water is still scarce as ever. To quench their thirst, the Bushmen do something that may seem shocking. They suck the gastric juices from the stomachs of their prey. The hunt is over, and the victor leaves, his prowess enhanced by the conquest. Even though food is more abundant today and life is a little less tiring, not all members of the clan are willing to accept the horseman's position of superiority in their society and their dependence on him. This elderly man and his family have decided to pack up and leave a community whose destiny they have helped shape for many years. In total, 15 adults and children leave the village. They set out aimlessly, confident that after a few days, no matter in which direction they walk, they will meet up with a new group who will welcome them and offer them hospitality.
Sigal mukte kakisone simlaye me